All right, everyone, welcome to World's Finest, the official podcast of the Comic Collectors Guild. We are here tonight to finish out our part two of the top 10 Batman villains. I am Lee, as you guys know, and I'm here with my buddy Jake, and we are lucky enough to be here tonight with our three special guests who are here to finish up the top 10. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing good. How you doing?
Great.
Doing great,
Whoop,
doing
whoop.
great. It's going to be fun, Jake. Are you excited?
I am. We obviously went through number 10 through number 6 on part 1, and you heard from all of us. So now we're going to do the big guns, number 5 through number 1. This one is the heavy hitter, so can't wait to find out everybody's list. Let's just dive right into this thing. L.T, your number 5 Batman villain of all time. Who would that be?
I chose the only character that broke the bat. I'm talking about Bane.
Ooh, nice.
He
What about the slabs?
Yeah, that's slab.
my only slab. He just personifies brute strength, in which overpowered Batman that one time that he broke his back. I mean, as it is, he's strong without Venom, but with Venom is even stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I chose him basically in the middle of everyone, only because, again, he's the only one that has broken the bat, and in pure brute strength, he could probably beat him. But Batman is well versed in dozens of fighting techniques that can take Bane down. It's always brain versus brawn, and brain has always beat Bane. Yes. Did I say that right?
Brain
Braun.
has beat
Sounds
Bane.
right.
Yes. So in that regards, he's right in the middle of my list.
It's a fantastic choice, sir. We got Bane number 5. Tabitha, who is your number 5?
I'm right there with you, LT. I have Bane as my number 5. Mostly because he's the person that physically broke the bat. But I'm also a huge fan of the Dark Knight Rises film. So I feel like he plays a huge intricate part in that movie, unlike, Batman and Robin, in which we're all familiar with. But for the most part, I think Bane is definitely a foe to be opposed for Batman. He's definitely a scary, scary guy.
Fantastic choice. David, are you on the Bane bandwagon, or do you have somebody else at your number 5?
My number 5, I had to go with Poison Ivy, just because she has, she uses plants as to help with everything.
Does.
Especially in the Tom King in this Tom King run. I think everyone was like eating lettuce, and like anyone who ate lettuce under her control. And it's like, holy crap, I ate salad the other day. And it's like, oh, I'm screwed. Or like if you go to a burger place and like you have lettuce in your burger, and it's like, oh man, she could really take advantage of, she could really master taking advantage of people and really do some world domination and succeed with her plan if she really wanted to. But yeah, it's like just in the Tom King one alone, she showed how powerful she is. And then, the seduction and her kiss and being,
There's like Hush, where she takes over Superman.
Yeah.
Superman.
Yeah.
He is a badass.
I didn't give Poison Ivy enough credit, I will admit.
Yeah.
To take over Superman is not easy. So
Yes.
No.
yeah,
I mean,
so
he's your weapon. He became her weapon.
Yeah, and he's Mr.
Kryptonite
Nice
pucker
Guy.
up.
Yeah.
And he's Mr. Nice Guy. He can't hurt a fly. So it's like under her control, he could do anything. So yeah, that's my number 5. I don't think it's better from there.
Fantastic choice. Lee, who do you have at your number 5, sir?
I have Mr. Tommy Elliott, old Hush. I mean, I can't remember one of the last times where a character made a splash like he did, where he was, teased throughout a year's worth of comics, and his storyline brought a lot to it. Outside of just him in general, there was a lot of other things that happened peripherally around him. It was the first time that we got the a tease of Jason Todd coming back to life, you know what I mean, in there, and that, and just the intricate plan that he had. Yes, the Riddler was there as well, helping him, but the fact that he had this such an intricately plotted plan to take down Batman, utilizing the whole Rogues Gallery, was awesome. You know, the fact that he made us splash that way, and his ties to Bruce Wayne, you know, as a kid growing up and all of that. To me, that really ties him and makes him one of Batman's best players. So that's why he's my number 5.
Fantastic choice there. And, you know, obviously Hush being arguably one of the best storyline, if not the best storyline ever, you know, he came in with a splash, like you said. So fantastic choice. For me, I had to make a last second edit into mine. I've told these guys already, but number 5 for me is a newer character, and that is the Batman Who Laughs. I didn't have him originally, but when I really thought about it, you know, I got intrigued and read more with him in it just this past week, and it is absurd. He is absurd, the amount of damage that character has done in such a little time, in the characters that he has taken out. It is absolutely mind-boggling, to the point where he could easily even be higher on this list. The only reason he's at number 5 is because he really just is kind of new as a character. He hasn't been around for very long. But the idea that the Joker and the Batman are blended, I don't know how it took so long for these two characters, for somebody to think of this concept. It's literally like the madness with the bat, and it's blended as one killing machine. And like, he's smart, he can fight, he's got the Joker's craziness, and he'll go to any extreme to take everybody out. And when he took out the Bat family in the Batcave, I was like, okay, like, this dude is on another level from anything I've seen, other than the Joker, probably, on like levels of just taking people out. So Batman Who Laughs is my number 5.
Yeah, and he's a rogue. I mean, one of Batman's rogues in his rogues gallery, but the touch and the way he's just affected some of those heavy hitters who he took out. You know, you hinted at that earlier, but it's been Shazam. And,
with ease.
Supergirl, easy, like you guys said. So no, I could definitely see why he's not your number. Man.
Yeah,
you know,
he
would be
wasn't
sick.
Who's that?
It would be so like it would be sick if like they ever released like a Batman Who Laughs like animated series. All the damage he's done through the different universes, and it's like that's like, you know, God knows how many seasons you could have of that, all the universes, but it's like that could be like an ongoing thing until he finally matches, you know, until he finally matches up with our Batman.
Yeah,
gets defeated, then it's over. I give it like 10 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised, like, I really didn't even think of that character, because honestly, he really scared me. Like, that was really one of the darkest storylines, and I was like, this is really gruesome. Like, I haven't really read something like this since Injustice, and I didn't even make it past, like, I didn't even finish the first season of comics because there were so many people that I already killed off, and it was just so dark to begin with, and I was like, I'm just gonna stop right here.
Well, that's the thing, right?
I don't know if I want to continue this.
I genuinely believe that he's so dark, we'll never see him in live action because he's too dark. Like, you can't use him right. You literally can't, because that's how dark and big of a bad this guy is.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a part where like Bruce Wayne just saw like the death of his family, like his parents, over and over again at a universe, and it was like, I think they were lined up and it just kept on happening over and over again. I remember reading that and I was like, what the hell am I reading, dude? Torture. Like, you could waterboat, you could do whatever the hell you want to a person, but like to relive the one thing that broke them over and over again.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I was like, what an asshat.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to number 4, guys. LT, who is your number 4 choice?
I chose number 4, Two-Face.
Oh, great figure.
Nice.
Now, Two-Face is a formidable foe only because it's basically you're fighting two people, hence the name Two-Face. You know, Batman can fight every villain he can, and he only has to deal with one, you know, persona, one set of goals. When he goes after Two-Face, he's got to deal with Harvey and Two-Face. You know, both, and you know, he has to actually think twice when dealing with you know, Two-Face. So I thought of him as a very formidable foe and higher than the other ones that I put before him, only because of that case that he has to think, twice of, on how to defeat him.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to
Great.
play your odds with Two-Face.
Yes, you do indeed.
50-50.
50-50.
Fitty.
Did you like his portrayal, LT, in the Nolan film? I thought, I'll just preface by saying I thought Aaron Eckhart did a fantastic job. I would have liked to have seen him maybe even get his own film. You know what I mean? As opposed to being regulated to like the last, I can't remember exactly what, 30 minutes maybe, where he kind of made his appearance and
Well,
then was gone. I mean,
his
Nolan's his own
his
films, but
his CG was the best part of all the films.
oh yeah,
It was
it
like
was
really, and that's how we see Two-Face is emotionally and physically and psychologically scarred. So
Yeah.
I remember seeing the I don't even think it was an actual live action or not a shot of it, but before the movie came out and they hadn't really revealed the appearance of Two-Face yet. And I remember I was clicking on some link to finally see it. And I remember like being taken aback by
Yeah.
just how gruesome
Yeah.
it actually was. This
Yeah.
wasn't like old Tommy Lee Jones's, Two-Face, which was really just a pale imitation of the Joker, in my opinion, that he was trying to do. But this was like it was a really horrific, horrible accident that happens.
Yeah.
It was
Shocking.
horrifying.
And what's
Yeah.
really interesting with Two-Face is like there's some even storylines where like his face is repaired and yet he still has that dynamic. So
Nope.
like
Yeah.
LT said, it is psychologically scarred.
he's
Like
damaged.
yeah, so whether he's fixed on the outside or not, he's broken on the inside because he's been so utterly destroyed with losing his wife and losing his career and becoming what he's always fought. All of things add up and eat at him alive because he was trying to do the right thing and then it destroyed him. And so I think that further spurs him on to go after Batman because he feels like Batman is just as bad as everybody else and that he's the reason why crime exists is because of Batman.
Yeah. I particularly like the episode 2 where in the animated series where like they captured Batman and have him on trial and he's like goes back to like his prosecutor days and he's like doing the lawyer thing. I always found that episode very intriguing, as well as like the introduction of Two-Face within that series. So fantastic choice. Tabitha, who is your number 4?
My number 4 is Hugo Strange, mostly because he's always been a huge brain against Batman. So much so that, he was one of the main villains of one of the Arkham games that they did. But several times in the comics, like he's been behind knowing the identity of Batman and trying to destroy him, through his company, which we see, imitated in the Dark Knight series, from Nolan. And then you see him, trying to sell him off to his identity to like the highest bidder. He's always the person that you kind of undermine, and he's kind of like the darker version of what Harley could be if she would have stayed on as a psychiatrist instead of leaving and running away with her pudding.
There you go. No, fantastic choice. And what's interesting is Hugo was originally meant to be the big bad for Batman before the Joker came on. It was supposed to be Hugo Strange was supposed to be like the guy that, the foe that Batman always went up against. So fantastic choice. And he's been around pretty much from the start. So I like it. David, who is your number 4?
My number 4 is Bane. We covered pretty much most of the reason why. For me, similar to what LT said earlier, it's like, you look at him and he's just really, this really strong mofo, and you're not gonna think that someone's smart. And for someone to outsmart Batman numerous times throughout the years, it's like, holy cow, like this guy, he's more than what meets the eye. And especially like, again, back to Tom King recently, how he just broke Batman again for second or third time. It just shows that here's a character that you can't sleep on. And he's, normally you see muscle, you think about bodyguards or henchmen. You don't think about leaders of leaders or major villains are going to go against Batman. And I like his surprise. And honestly, a lot of the artists that draw him, man, they do a hell of a job.
Yeah.
I love seeing his art.
I think he was the most terrifying thing about Dark Knight Rises. Like, that whole movie puts you on the edge of your seat. The entire movie, you are just waiting for the next worst thing to happen, because it just seems to get bigger and bigger from there. But it's so unexpected from this character who's been, punished from his, family crimes, like from his father, and having to live in this like tiny little cell, and then breaking out and becoming this bigger, badder, man to exist. And he really overcomes, the darkness, and everything. And so it's just, he's definitely a scary person.
And the scary thing about him is, how like people have henchmen, and normally the henchmen are bigger than you are.
Yeah.
Like, I have to fight all these people that are giving me a hard time, but then I got to fight you. Like, God, like Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree 100%. Lee, what about you? Who do you got?
Well, I've got old Harvey Two-Face for my number 4. You guys, we're on number 4, right? So yeah, we talked a lot about it already. Only thing I'll add is that I really liked him because he, Gotham won that, right? It was Batman, Commissioner Gordon, and Harvey Dent in the story. They were gonna, bring peace to this town, to the city of Gotham. Unfortunately, we all know what happened. It's a tragic story. He fell. Gotham took him and overcame him. But yeah, and because of his close ties to Bruce and in both aspects of his personality, him and Harvey were boys, and then Bruce and Harvey were boys, and then Batman and Harvey were fighting the good fight. So he lost an ally in both aspects of his personality with that one.
Yeah,
he became a vicious foe of his. So that's why he's my number 4.
Great choice. And like we touched on before, I like that Batman, more than anybody else, probably holds back more when he's fighting Two-Face because it's still his friend, and he still doesn't want to do any damage to him. He wants to save him, no matter how dark he goes, no matter how many bad things, he's always trying to, dude, let me help you. Like, let me help you, and he just can't do it.
He knows who he really is, he
exactly.
knows who he really is, and he just wants more than anything to rescue his buddy.
Great choice, sir. So for me, mine isn't just one person. I got the whole court, and I am talking the Court of Owls talent. I think, again, we're talking about epic storylines. The Court of Owls is, one of the greatest Batman stories ever. And just a concept of them just kind of being this like lullaby, dark fairy tale that in reality is real. I think that they're cool living in the shadows, and within Gotham City that Batman, knows every inch and cranny of, and there's a secret society that he doesn't even know about, and it's been there the whole time. I love in the animated movie, he looks for the Court of Owls when his parents die, and he kind of ties that to a lot of his parents' death. And then to see him go with Talon, who quite frankly kicks Batman's ass for a while until he can kind of figure them out. And then seeing that epic battle within the Batcave, where we even see Alfred taking some names. I love the Court of Owls. I hope we get them in the Arkham video game. And for me,
so sick.
They need to be used way more. They're so cool. So Court of Owls is my number 4.
And I might have said this before, so if I'm repeating myself, sorry, in the last episode, but the fact that they've got their trenches in with or their talons in, so to speak, with Dick Grayson now. What I mean? With all of that history that's going on with them, sounds like his family's been affiliated with that for years. Yeah. And so now they're kind of bringing him, trying to get him over on their side. So it's just.
Just as disappointed. I did not think of Court of Owls because overall that is one of the first storylines that I really remember reading, and I really love, everything behind that and how they've connected it with like the nursery rhymes and the history of Gotham, and like it's a tale that they can take older and further back, and it's something that they can really like direct in the history of Gotham, but we can really run with it. And they did with the show. They have in the comics. And it'll be really neat to see how further it develops. And I would love it if they did a Court of Owls video game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think it's cool, too. Like, they took, like, inspiration from the, like, Freemasons from, like, back in, like, the United States. And they kind of tied that
Illuminati.
into. Yeah, exactly. So
society.
Yeah.
Did you guys like the animated film that they were introduced in?
Yes.
Did you see animated film? Oh, that was pretty good. Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So
Which one?
It's Batman,
Batman and Robin, isn't it?
Batman
versus Robin.
versus
Batman
Robin.
versus
I
Robin.
saw it when it first came out. It's been a while. But yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they did a good job. But yep, so that's mine. Let's move on to the top three. So LT, your number 3 choice is who?
I chose the Riddler.
Who? There you go.
Now, like I mentioned before, with Bane, Brawn versus Brain, Brain usually always wins. Now, in the Riddler's case, it's Brain versus Brain.
Mm.
And he always tests Batman with all his riddles and whatnot. So Batman usually, has to use that high intellect to always beat him. And the Riddler's not a fighter. There's nothing strong about him.
Right.
Like I said, it's his brain. So
He's the man behind the green curtain.
exactly. So that, like I said, is a big win over Muscle. So I chose him as my third highest.
Yeah, that's a fantastic choice. He's interesting. Me personally, I kind of agree with you. I as much as I love seeing Batman doing stuff physically and like kicking butt, I like seeing where he's using more of his brain than his fists in the detective side of it. And I touched on this before within the Batman movie that's coming out. The cast that I'm more excited about is Paul Dano playing him. I think he's gonna absolutely crush it. So I hope they utilize him a lot. But fantastic choice.
LT, who's your favorite live-action Riddler so far outside of Paul Dano? I'm not giving you a lot of choices there. You only got 3 to choose from.
Well, I do like the character on Gotham. That was a pretty
4
good
actually. There was 4. I'm sorry. There's 4 to choose from. Yeah, he was. You're right. I forgot about that guy.
Yeah, they did him justice there, but I guess
that they made him kind of a multiple personality. Like I just got to that part where now he's like reconnected with the crazier part of him. Like he was wanting to be smart again and then he couldn't figure out why. And now his like imaginary Riddler just came back and he's like, no. And so, and it's just that interesting twist to Riddler that they did, that it's actually like a side of lunacy for him. Because in the other ones, he's just obsessed with riddles. It's not so much that he's like really crazy. He's almost just like lunatic smart, kind of like you would expect from Lex.
He's a narcissist. Yeah.
And Jim Carrey's take was too slapstick for me.
Oh, but I love Jim Carrey.
It was.
It was just too slapstick.
See, I was kind of.
On top of that, all the Arkham video games where you play all the side quests of that
was
itself,
fun.
You could,
fuck those little puzzle boxes. I'll take the riddles all day long, but fuck those puzzle boxes.
Sorry, children watching this show. We're sorry.
I know.
My bad. They made me angry. Yeah, just remove that.
Well, let's move right on to old potty mouth here. Who do you have at your number 3, Missy?
That would be Hush. So my number 3 is Hush, and as previously stated, it's because it was his childhood friend. He really is this opponent that you don't really see coming, and he destroys him from the inside out. And the crazier part is it's simply just because he is jealous that Bruce has what he didn't get, which was he tried to murder his parents. Bruce's father saved, one of his parents. Therefore, he wasn't able to take off with a fortune like Bruce was. So he blamed Bruce and he blamed Bruce's father because that's not what he wanted. And then he comes back for a vengeance. And it just takes it even a step further, like in the video games where he actually like changes his face because he actually just wants to take over as Bruce. Yeah. So he's really scary just because he's such a personal hit to home in the fact that he was able to get inside Batman's network and actually like digitally imprint it, in the Batcave. So whenever he was injured, he would go to Tommy Elliott, even though they hadn't seen each other in forever.
Nope, fantastic choice. He's awesome. So let's move right on to Dave. Who is your number 3, sir?
Number 3, I'm pretty sure she's not even going to be on anyone's top 10, is Harley Quinn. The reason I pick her, she is, fairly young when it comes to any of the rogues or any of the villains, but so is some people on our list. But the potential that she has, she became a villain because she was persuaded to. She fell in love, and now she's a villain. But later on, we find out how smart she really is, and her being a psychologist, and I guess it was her PhD or whatever, and all that stuff, and her being so athletic and acrobatic, and most of the time, on animated series at least, she's the one who catches Batman, not the Joker. Or she catches Batman just to impress the Joker, and she's limiting herself just because of the Joker. So imagine if she was to be a villain, and she was the mastermind behind a plan.
Yeah.
I think we would see. I don't know. She could probably move, and she could move to like a 2 or 3, or 2 or number 1 position. And especially lately with DC Black Label, they've really shown how intelligent she is, and also vulnerable. But her brains, because of her smarts and everything, her experiences, she's just unstoppable. She's smart. She figures things out. She's kind of like, I guess, like a female villain Batman almost, because like she's a detective woman, and she's reading, she's learning, she's looking into people and their mannerisms and all this stuff. I don't know. She has just a lot more potential that we have seen before.
That's what I really loved in Birds of Prey, is her quick one-liner, like diagnoses of people and like quick quips. And that's also really fun. And the independence that she's taken from breaking out of Joker is, you're right, there's a lot of potential that she has there, and she is really smart and she is capable of more. But she's held herself down to love. And, it's like one of the most famous storylines, Mad Love. So therefore, I think that just says it all. It's just what I call is head over heels stupid. So she's just caught up in the Joker. And then once she can finally be free of that and be independent, I think she's going to do some really crazy, cool things as long as they keep her in the comics. And I think she will, because there's such a high love for her.
Yeah. Stop making her dopey.
I agree. And especially now how she's being treated in the comics and the movies, over of an anti-hero, or but she's one of the villains that Batman has given a chance to do good, and you see it now in the comics. You saw it in the whole Injustice video games and the comics. She's on Batman's side. So
she plays both sides.
Yeah, so I think her character is very redeemable from what she started as, and I think that's why she's also a fan favorite.
Shout out to Margot Robbie too, for portraying her, because I think actually that is one of the things that's almost like she was lifted. She does a great job with her, because she was like lifted straight from the pages to the screen. I mean, they adapted her very, very well, and she plays her.
She's the only reason why Birds of Prey actually happened. She fought for that movie to get off the ground. So.
Yep. And Lee, why don't you touch on? I know you've mentioned how does DC have her on like the pillars? Because I know you've touched on that before.
Yeah, I mean, she's become insanely popular, that she is really like the 4th pillar now of DC. Other 3 being, of course, the Trinity: Superman, Batman, and Robin. But she's been elevated to such a status. I mean, I'm sorry, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. I'm so used to saying Batman and Robin. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are the 3 pillars, and then Harley Quinn's right there. But she's been elevated to such a status. And like Dave, I think you said a relatively young character. I mean, only 20 years or so.
Yeah, 90. Was it 92?
Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty crazy that she's a fantastic character.
Yeah, can't wait to see what else we're going to see from her.
She really is.
I mean, that's why I'm wearing her shirt, because
there you go.
What they say about the crazy ones.
There you go.
Do you think we'll get a Birds of Prey sequel?
I really would love it, but I was just hearing that the studios were not happy with the turnout, even though it still made money. And now they're planning on all of the rampant that they were going to do for the next one. They're going to put on the Black Adam movie instead with The Rock, because they know that they're going to make money on it.
All the what now?
The Black Adam.
Oh, but what they're taking what to the Black Adam?
The Rock, because The Rock is the one who's starring in that film.
Yeah.
So they're going to put all of the money that they were going to put in the next Birds of Prey movie,
right.
into the Black Adam movie instead because it didn't turn out the way they wanted.
Yeah, I think two pillars on that.
That
Yeah, I think me and Lee have talked about it before. The big letdown is they didn't really give us the true Birds of Prey. They made a huge mistake by leaving Batgirl out. They made a mistake not having Catwoman in there.
Well, if you pay attention to kind of how it is, though, is that Harley Quinn is helping them band together. So it's something that can still be created if they would allow it to happen.
Yeah, I'm just saying immediately that would have gotten a lot more people in the seats just to see those characters.
Well, I think so too, though. Even though, I mean, let's be real, guys. They had Black Canary and Huntress in the film, but I mean, they were like barely in the film. I mean, you know what I mean? This was, for all intents and purposes, Harley.
It was a Harley movie, yeah.
Don't even get me
and I think that was a
started
mistake.
on
And I think that was a mistake.
Cassandra
These guys,
Cain.
I mean, I don't. That was crazy that they did that too. It's like, why do all these? I hate when they make these changes. You know what I mean? And they don't really need to.
Yeah, and the other mistake they made was just the title of the movie. Like, just call it Birds of Prey. Call it Harley Quinn.
No. That is something to do with Margot Robbie personally, and I really admire her for this. She's a huge fan of movies with long titles, so she purposely named it a really long-ass title because she liked the sound of it.
I get it. It's just a huge, like, I saw they did like a big poll and like 70% of people like had no idea that was a Harley Quinn movie. Like, and that's where they messed up. What I get like her appreciation of it.
See, I don't get behind the fact they're like, oh, they had to change the title. I mean, because if they didn't know it was a Harley Quinn movie, I don't know how they couldn't, because she was front and center in every freaking.
And everything.
It's because some theaters put it up as Birds of Prey, and some theaters didn't put it up as Harley Quinn, and people were expecting Harley Quinn. They weren't expecting Birds of Prey. So that's where the confusion happened.
Yeah, well, we'll see. The rumors I've seen that if they do continue is they're going to start focusing on the Poison Ivy Harley relationship like they have. So that'll be interesting because that's been utilized a lot now.
Yeah, but that's another movie. That's Gotham City Sirens, isn't it? Or,
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I don't care. Give me more DC movies.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you, Dave. I'm with you. I mean, I actually wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind seeing Birds of Prey continue because I really don't think we got to know those characters as much as we could have.
It's an intro movie. A lot of people don't even know those characters. No one knows. No one outside of comics knows who Cassandra Cain is. No one knows Renee Montoya. Like, it's like introduction movie. It's like, great. Now Harley Quinn's going to go this way. Everyone's going to go that way. And let's see what happens.
Well, let's do it. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get it. And that's really
I don't either.
You know what I mean? Because it just didn't do what they wanted to. And I hate that was almost like another nail in DC's extended universe.
10 years.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Lee, back on the list. What is your number 3, sir?
Number 3 for me is Bane. I fell in love with this character as soon as I saw Batman and Robin. I was like, what a villain. No, I'm just
God.
No, I mean, all right.
That's when people stop
It was just a glorified bodyguard.
No, that was actually, I take it back. No, Bane is my number 3 character for sure, but obviously that movie was terrible. No, Bane is my favorite, number 3 for all the reasons you guys have already spoken about. I mean, he broke the bat. He had that elaborate plan where he had basically another guy who used the Rogues Gallery and had Batman running around for like 2 weeks straight with no rest. And as soon as he gets done with that mission or whatever he was to put all those rogues back, he goes back to his home to finally get some rest. And what does he find? Alfred beaten to shreds, the Batcave torn to hell. And what does he get out of all of his hard work for the past 2 weeks? His back broken. You know what I mean? He broke the bat. So for all those reasons and everything that you guys said is why he's my number 3. I mean, he's just all around badass. And I loved Tom Hardy, what he did with him. And you know, and the less we ever talk about Batman and Robin, the better. Please, guys, know that was a joke. But yeah, what a disgrace they did for that character in that movie. You know, less said about that.
Yeah, for me, I'm just gonna keep going. It's Bane for me too at my number 3. For all the reasons you guys touched on, so I'm not gonna go too much into this. He's the one character I think if you're in the street and he shows up, you're like, oh crap, like, you know, like he's your toe. And just
he's a physical fear.
He's a physical beast, and he's mentally smart. I mean, to think like, dude, I'm the big bruiser. Let me wear him out by facing all these other people, and then I'm gonna be there waiting. And he figured out he's Bruce Wayne, so it's like boom, 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 boom. I mean, on one storyline alone, he's up there for me. But even the recent like rebirth of City of Bane, I Am Bane, they have done some awesome storylines with him, and I love him and Batman going back and forth.
Doesn't he kill Alfred?
Nope. Snapped his neck.
Don't remind me.
Yeah,
Yep.
he does in that
I was-
storyline.
I was so
City of Bane.
mad.
Yeah. Rule number 1, don't mess with Alfred. Like, come on.
Leave Alfred alone.
Leave Alfred alone. Leave Alfred alone.
Jesus Christ. Alfred's such a great human being. You got to kill him.
I know. But we got the runner-up now, the silver medalist, LT. Who is your number 2?
You touched up on him. Your edited top 5 included this character, Batman Who Laughs.
Yes.
Now, like you said, I mean, you combine the best of Batman and the worst of Joker, and you get, a character that, you can't beat.
An
You
effing
just
nightmare.
can't beat. And lately in the comics, you can't beat him. You can't. He outsmarted Lex, and he's fighting all the. He's taking care of the Justice League, and even the Injustice League in this past Hell Arisen. He was a formidable foe. So I mean, he seems he's too powerful. But you got to remember, part of it is, Batman knows who he is, and Batman can anticipate him in most cases. But he's right up there with my number 1, which is already half of this villain if you really think about it. But he's here to stay. He's a thorn in everyone's side, not just Batman. He's going to quickly become a rogue of everybody, everyone in DC. So, that's why I chose him.
Great choice, man. Tabitha, who is your number 2?
So my number 2 is actually a duo, in my opinion. And so I have Ra's and Talia, mostly because, Ra's is like this scary, assassin who wants to take over the world and restart it and become something new. And he sees Batman as his perfect successor. But then you take Talia, who has now drugged and raped and had a child against Batman's will. These are very scary people. They have managed to manipulate him, control him, and use his DNA. And all in hopes that he'll eventually come over to their dark side and like take over the world with them, because they see how powerful of an opponent Batman really is. And he's not just strength, but he's also wit and speed and accuracy and everything that they teach their assassins to be, enough so that he actually is an opponent that is worth match to them. So they're definitely in my number 2, because they've affected Batman to such a point that, we even have a new Robin now.
Yeah. No, fantastic choice. I love it. David, who's your runner-up?
Oh, my runner-up, and it comes to a surprise to most people, would be Mr. Freeze. The reason I'm a fan of Mr. Freeze, again, he has brains. He's also motivated by love, his love of bringing Nora back. And when you think about the power of love, people are capable of anything.
Yep.
And if you really love something that much, and you see it in the story, in any Mr. Freeze storyline, he'll destroy Gotham, he'll freeze anyone, anything over. He just wants his Nora back, and that's a very scary thing to go against, because
he's determined.
He's so determined, and that I get worried when I read something or watch it that Mr. Freeze is just freezing Gotham or doing something for no reason. And I'm like, there's no reason to have this character there.
Yeah.
The time Mr. Freeze is involved is him to save Nora, or him doing something because he has to do it for someone else to help him to save Nora. And to be that determined constantly, and Batman pretty much, he feels his pain, and Batman at times wishes he could help. But I just think he's just that dangerous, just because he's motivated by love.
No, that's a fantastic reason. We all love Mr. Freeze. He's one of my favorites for sure. He might be like one of my top 3 absolute favorite villains, and his backstory is just so different from the rest.
And then, of course, I forgot the one thing. It's his art when like Tim Sale draws.
Oh yeah,
Mr. Freeze. And then when you go into like Batman White Knight, and one panel where it's mostly blue and black, and he's touching the Nora tube that she's in. He drew it, and I have the print here, and I remember I saw that, and I was like, that'd be a dope ass tattoo.
Yeah, it would. It would.
Like, man.
Sideshow has an art print of like a glow in the dark where he's same thing. He's like touching the tank and it like actually glows like that translucent blue. It's beautiful. So
it's still available. I might have to jump on.
It is. It is still available. You should definitely check that out.
Use some of that stimulus package.
There you go. There you go. Lee, who is your number 2, sir?
Well, right along with Tabitha, Ra's al Ghul. I didn't include Talia, my apologies. But I do have Ra's al Ghul, the Demon's Head, grandfather of Damian Wayne. He is my number 2 choice because he is really, first of all, every villain, I've said this before, every villain is the hero in their eyes, in their own story. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. I mean, he's not, he's really just trying to, much like I made this person before, Thanos. He's really just trying to provide for mankind by getting rid of 50% of them, basically. You know what I mean? But the other 50% will prosper. So he's Batman's number 2 for that reason, because he's more on a global scale. He's not just doing crimes for crime's sake. It's a global scale of things. Yeah, it's a world domination in a way, because doesn't really maybe want to necessarily rule it, but remake it and provide better for everyone. But again, like half the population. But yeah, and again, he's gone up not just against Batman, but the Justice League. He's pretty badass.
For sure. Well, I guess I'm just gonna keep talking about him because he's my number 2 as well. The Demon's Head, Ra's al Ghul. For a lot of the reasons you touched on, I love that he refers to Batman as the detective. And really, for me, it all stems from how many things have been affected by him, going back to Jason Todd getting killed. I mean, it wasn't his intention for him to die, but, it was a plan that involved Ra's that got Jason killed that, started that storyline. And then, we have, as you touched on, Tabitha, we got his daughter, basically drugging and having Batman's baby, so that we got, Damian from Ra's and dealing with that, and him basically raising him to be the head of, the League of Shadows when his time would come and be able to beat Batman. And we saw, how that came into play. And we've seen him with Deathstroke at times in certain storylines. And he's just awesome. I loved every aspect of him in the animated series. I remember there was even an episode where Jonah Hex was involved, like back in the day before Batman even existed. So for me, he's just awesome with the Demon's Head. And fantastic villain. So Ra's al Ghul is also my number 2, which leads us to number 1. I don't think it's any spoiler here to say that I believe we all have the same villain, and that is the villain of all villains, and that is Mr. J, the Clown Prince of Crime, and the Joker. So let's just talk about him, guys.
Agreed.
Agreed.
I guess round robin. LT, starting with you, and just go around. Who's your favorite iteration of the Joker, and then why is Joker the number 1 for you?
First of all, I believe Joaquin Phoenix did a phenomenal job. Although I don't consider him a Joker in the true DC universe aspect. It would have to be Heath Ledger. I mean, the guy put everything he did into that role. Joker is, his main purpose is to beat Batman, but how he wants it done is he wants Batman to actually kill him so that he wins. So he has Batman cross that line. And, throughout the years, he'll kill, he'll murder, he'll push those buttons. And Batman always resists. I mean, Batman will always win, will always beat him, but Joker will actually wants to die at his hands, and Batman keeps on denying him. So thus that revolving door of versus in the comics and the movies and the video games. It's always like Keith did say in the movie that they were destined to do this forever. and that's only because Batman is not going to cross that line. And like I said, it's Joker. His main mission is to die by Batman's hands and thus winning. And, you know, that's basically never going to happen.
Yep. I agree with you. Tabitha, what about you? Same question.
Like LT said, there's like this, back and forth dance between Joker and Batman. And I think that's honestly, there's kind of like a bromance there for Joker. And you got to delve into that and like the Telltale games and things. And that was something that was enjoyable. But I think overall, Joaquin Phoenix did an amazing job. I think it was a really great origin Joker story. I really loved how Bruce was created from the chaos of it and not from Joker directly, in which we're familiar with in different storylines. But overall, I mean, Ledger brought, a lot to the table that is hard to forget, let alone, that was just an intense role just to watch because he is chaos. He's a dog that likes to chase cars. You just don't know what to expect. But I think the most classic one has got to be Mark Hamill. Like, he's definitely the voice that I hear in my head, just because of the Batman animated series, just because of the video games. And then, Nicholson brought a classic piece to the table as well. So it's hard to just choose one Joker individually. But I think the scarier thing is how far Joker's willing to take it with Batman, because he does want Batman to break his one rule like that. But at the same time, he doesn't, because then it would all be over. And that's where it kind of gets interesting, if you think about like Dark Knight Returns 2. And there's like a controversial thing that Batman made it up in his head that Joker snapped his own neck and he actually did it. So it's just kind of interesting to think about if that could have happened. Did Batman finally snap, or is Joker that twisted that he was actually physically able to snap his own neck just to frame Bruce? Either way, it's really dark and unexpected. For
sure. David, what about you, sir?
Well, when we talk about the Joker, we're talking about one of the best villains of all time of any universe. He's unpredictable. You don't know what he's really planning, why he's planning it, who he's planning it with, what props he's going to use, how big or small he's actually planning something. When it comes to live action, it's difficult because it's like every time you have a certain every actor is the best actor for that role at that time period. And with effects and everything, you only get so far. So like, if you go, back to like Cesar Romero, like 66, that was an amazing Joker. If you go back to Batman 89, holy crap, Jack Nicholson did a phenomenal job, even to today's standards. Then, you fast forward and you look at Batman animated series. Of course, that was a big staple for most of us. Or my age range, because most of us got out of school and we grew up 4 o'clock watching that beginning and watching the Joker running around and causing chaos. Then we go into the Dark Knight, of course, and I think that's the darkest we ever seen of Joker. And I think since Batman became dark in the 80s, we kind of enjoyed how dark the Joker could be, and it made it feel more real of how real of the circumstances of how our world really is, how dark people could get. And I don't know, there was just this eerie feeling when it came to Heath Ledger. Then we go now, we look at Phoenix, and it's seemed even more real with mental illness and current social status, and the world around you created this monster. But it's tough overall. Heath Ledger when it comes to live action, but then when it comes to comics, that's also tough as well, because you have DKR that had like this mob boss mentality Joker who gave you what you deserved. Then you also had like the Killing Joke, but for me, comic wise, I like the Lee Bermejo Brian Azzarello story Joker, because that felt more like a Joker that you really had no idea if he was your friend. You crossed him, you were done. And that his one rule was don't cross me. And similar to Batman's one rule, I'm not killing. And I was like, all right, that's a real Joker. I could see this Joker over and over again and enjoy it. So the Joker's just a dark character, and I like it. I'll keep it dark. It's the dark. Let's keep it all dark.
Exactly. There you go. Lee, what about you, sir?
Uh, I'll keep it short, guys. I mean, you've all said everything that I pretty much agree with. But yeah, he's really been one of the villains who's just wrecked the Bat family.
Mhm.
You mentioned the Killing Joke. So from the Killing Joke to a death in the family, to
Mhm.
a more recent
Death of the
story, a death
family.
of the family. There's some great Joker stories out there. Those included The Man Who Laughs is another one. Dave, you mentioned a couple great ones. I mean, every reason you guys gave is why he's my number one choice. As far as uh, iteration two, I also think that everyone has done. Joker showed so many different aspects of his lunacy throughout the years that everyone has really done a good job of capturing that in that point in time. Much like I said with Cesar Romero through on through Joaquin up until last fall. I'll even
Mhm.
give it props to Jared Leto. I know
Oh
a lot of
yeah.
people
Oops.
aren't. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people aren't huge fans of that.
Only had
But
5
I don't think
minutes.
he got he didn't get a fair
Yeah.
shake to see what he really could have done. And unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever get it now.
It would have been nice.
I think it would have been fantastic because honestly, when he was very first chosen to be the successor to the Joker role, I honestly thought, what a fantastic choice. I
Yeah.
mean, if
He was
anybody's
fresh
going to
off
be
the
able to
Oscar.
capture that, yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Anybody's going to be able to capture that. He's also somebody who's kind of straddled a lot of doing these really out there roles. You know what I mean? And so I'm just really sad that we'll never really get to see that. But I guess I'm going to have to go with, for me, Heath Ledger as well. I think that he did a great job. So as far as live action goes,
Yeah.
not short anybody, but Heath Ledger.
Yep. To echo everything you guys have said, he's the yin and yang with him and Batman, and it's like the age-old question: like, was he kind of made because of Batman, and was Batman made because of him, and vice versa, like that? And to me, what's cool too is with him that stands apart is he's the one villain where all the other supervillains can be together, and he walks in a room and they're like, "Oh God." Like,
I know.
oh God, like this is the guy. Like he's the guy, you know what I mean? And as soon as he's in, like that's where your eyes go to, and it's all about him. So
Nobody ever wants to work with him at all.
No, and we've heard
Yeah.
Raish, the famous words of "I should have never worked with a madman," and
Yeah.
he's just chaos. So for me, he's got to be number one. And then same, every person has brought their own take, and it's all been fantastic. Back to Cesar Romero, all the way up to Joaquin Phoenix. I thought what Joaquin Phoenix did was absolutely almost scary good, like the way he like choked when he laughed, and I thought the way the laugh was brought in was just downright freaky.
It was so
like that,
beautiful.
it was unbelievable. I mean, that was, to me, I was like, if he doesn't win the Oscar, like I don't know how that's even possible. Like, it was a landslide, but to me, it was so refreshing too because it was so different from what Heath did. Because that is a bar that is just, I think just recently they voted as the number one moment in cinema history the last 100 years is Heath Ledger's Joker performance by the Hollywood press. Voted by Hollywood press, Heath Ledger's Joker. So Heath is my number one just because he captured more of the Joker than I think we all know than I think Joaquin, because it was such a Elseworld story that was so different. So because of that, and just when he was on screen, I mean, I never thought I would say this. I could have cared less of Batman even being on the screen in that movie because I just wanted to see more of him. I literally just wanted, and it's, I've seen where they've talked about it when he was on the film, like everybody was just glued to just watching him act because he had dialed into something that was so rare within a film. It was just unbelievable. So
every time he told those stories about the spars, it drew you in. You were just like, with that music that was playing in the back of the background as he's telling the stories, and it's just like so stressful. You know, you're like, you could have seen it 30,000 times, but those scenes get you. You're like,
and I loved like his voice would go up and it'd go down, and he'd get angry, but then he'd laugh again, and then on top of it too, to find out later on, like every time that he was like doing a personal video, like to record for Batman, like it got to the point where Christopher Nolan just gave him a camera and said, just do this, like just make it up. So that was all off the top of his head, all his own stuff. Mm-hmm. And they were creepy. I mean, it's just downright like, when he was like screaming at the guy to look at him and he's like, oh, shh, it's just like, dude, like it's crazy. So for me, he's the best.
It's also a testament to the character portrayed in the
Yes.
movies. Whoever, I mean, we got Joaquin and Heath won Oscars for the portrayal of that one character.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say that about any other comic book character in the history of anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's his storyline it's driven, many an actor to put on a hell of a performance.
Yeah, exactly.
And you saw it twice.
Exactly. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Mark Hamill too. That voice of Joker's, that's the voice I hear too. And the laugh, it's legendary. And I remember for a long time, I didn't even know it was Mark Hamill until I was like, that Luke Skywalker? And I was like, oh my God, like it's the same guy, and it was mind blowing to me. So, but yeah, that is definitely Joker number one. I think for all of us, most lists, I would imagine he'd be number one. But I guess the important question is, what do you guys think? Who are your top 5 Batman villains? We'd love to hear your comments. Any suggestions of characters we missed? There are so many Batman villains that could be on this list. But those are our top 5. Thank you so much for watching and breaking down these top 10 Batman villains. And to each one of my guests, we appreciate you here on World's Finest coming in and talking everything Batman and baddies.
Thanks for coming, guys. It's been awesome. We've really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me.
It's been so fun. Check us out, www.comiccollectorsguild.com. We're also now on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and like 87 other platforms that I don't know off the top of my head. But we're going to be on a lot of platforms, and we cannot wait to
just
try to get more content.
Go to our website, and our website has all the different links to where you can hear us.
There you go. We can't wait to bring so much more. Thank you again, guys. Until next time, stay hunting.